First, we will focus on the information regarding the budget calculation. If you know by now, the budget or financial plan is one of the necessary documents for the conclusion of a contract with GIZ. In the budget, you state the expenditures necessary to carry out the activities specified in your project proposal. The template can be found on our EUKI website. The EUKI financing in your budget is limited to the amount mentioned in the invitation letter you received last week, but you should also provide additional financial contribution in the form of own funds and/or financial contribution from other sources like the third-party recipients and/or third-party donors. A fixed minimum level for co-financing doesn't exist. Usually, for smaller NGOs in the EUKI focus countries, a co-financing rate of approximately 5% can be deemed appropriate. For implementers or their partners from Northern or Western EU member states, the expected co-financing rate is usually a multiplier of that numbers. Please make sure that the project proposal, the Gantt chart, Annex A, and the financial plan or budget are in line. The foremost means that all activities are traceable in each of the documents. Please also check whether the project start in the invitation letter has changed compared to the desired project start in the outline of the project. Another important general remark is that the allocation of EUKI budget within the consortium should reflect implementers and partners' workload. Most of the project financing, more than 50%, must be allocated to the organization in the target countries. The vast majority share of the project budget should go to the implementing organization outside Germany. You can find information for the budget calculation in our video tutorial series as well. Please only plan with own and/or third-party funds that can be monetarily classified and for which evidence can be provided, and don't state any existing equipment or infrastructure in the budget. Regarding third-party funding, we accept as proof a written confirmation on co-financing from the third-party recipient or the grant agreement concluded between the implementer or partners with the third-party donor stated in Annex C of the project proposal. A proof is, however, solely required for the third-party contributions. The co-financing amount in Annex C should correspond to the project proposal. The structure of the budget is the following. There is a key data sheet, a summary sheet, the main budget sheet of the recipient, and one sheet for each third-party recipient or implementing partner, as well as an example of the budget. The main sheet consists of 11 budget categories. They are external experts, staff, transportation travel, CO2 compensation for flights, procurement of materials and equipment, other cost consumables, funds for direct support of third-party beneficiaries, fair shared costs, administration costs, forwarding of funds, and own contribution third-party financing. Regarding the criteria for eligibility of project expenditures, it's important to note that not all expenditures possibly connected to the project are automatically eligible to be financed by the EUKI funding. The most important rules are that the expenditure must be necessary for the project, reasonable and in accordance with sound business principles, incurred during the project period, identifiable and verifiable, recorded in the accounting system, backed by supporting document, so for example, invoices, receipts, contracts, payslips, timesheets, and so on. To simplify the process, we divided the drafting procedure into 6 steps. First, you need to enter the key data for your project in the key data sheet. This includes the project name and the project title, information about administration costs, a financial contribution of your own funds, and third-party contributions to third-party recipients and/or third-party donors. Additionally, below you have the options to display tooltips, which are helpful during the preparation of the budget. Next, you need to add the name of the implementing partners in third-party recipient sheet, as well as in the budget of the recipient in the budget category 10, forwarding of funds. After that, you can specify the different expenditure in different budget categories, including the description of the expenditure, the related output, the unit, and the total amount eligible for support. The budget is an estimate of the expenditures, and therefore rounded numbers are preferred. Please use only sub-budget category per expenditure. The categorization of different expenditure will be explained later. Under the category Own Contributions, Third-Party Financing, you can include lump sum for each financial contributor of the project. This happens in the key data sheet. You don't need to further categorize planned cost in this category, but we ask you for a short explanation of the estimated cost here in the comment section. This brings us to our next point. The fourth step is to include important additional information in the comment section at the right of the budget. The information helps us during the budget check and won't be part of the final budget, which is annexed to the contract. This information is important since the budget itself should be relatively general, such that you have more flexibility with your spending later. Here you need to include, for example, main task of staff members, the activities of external experts, or the different cost components of travels. You, as implementer, are responsible for the budget sheets of your implementing partners, and they should be prepared in the same manner as yours. You can forward them all our guidelines and tutorials you received from us so far, or prepare the document together. The last step is to state the amount planned per year at the right side of the budget template. This is important for our planning of disbursement over the project period. Therefore, please put some thoughts into this. Additionally, you need to check whether the total amount of the planned expenditure in your financial plan complies with the maximum overall EUKI funding communicated in your invitation letter. Now we continue with specific information for the different budget categories. Under external services, you can budget external experts necessary for the implementation of the project, for example, for specific studies or events. External experts are independent, they work on bill or invoices, they have no employment contract with the recipient, they comply with contract award procedures stipulated in the contract Article 6. You can budget here expenditures related to workshops, trainings, meetings, and other project events, as well as translation or IT services. External services are commissioned by subcontractors. And please note that subcontracting will not be a major part of planned budget. Under budget category staff, you can budget employees for your organization with a regular employment contract with the recipient organization who are subject to social contributions and taxes. You also budget here integrated consultants, working under the conditions similar as well as the economic efficiency to staff employed by the recipient, and provided that this is legally permissible under the law applicable to the contract of the integrated consultant. Integrated consultants are natural persons who are self-employed or employed by a third party and seconded to the recipient. Expenditure of this budget line shall include monthly gross salary, including employer's contribution to social benefits, other regular salary components defined contractually, except bonuses or profit-sharing payments. As it was mentioned, beside the external experts in the budget line external services, you can also budget all expenditures related to the workshops, trainings, meetings, or other events under this budget category. In the description column, we ask you for an abstract job description for the expert or a general description of the service you want to subcontract. It's important that you don't refer to names of potential contractors here, since a contract award procedure is generally necessary for the selection of experts. In the column Output, you relate the expenditure to the associated output from the project proposal. In the column Unit, you indicate contract or contracts. Eligible for support up to, please state the total contract value, including all fees and travel costs for the consultant or consulting agency. Here you see an example of the budget line external services and the description. In the description column, you see we have an abstract job description for the expert or general description of the service you want to subcontract, and we don't refer to any names of potential contractors here. Because of contract awarding procedure, that is necessary for the selection of experts. In the column Output, you refer to the output from the project proposal, and you choose in the column Unit contract, or it could be some contracts. In the column Eligible for support up to, you calculate contract total amount value, including all fees and travel costs for the consultant or, as it was mentioned, consulting agencies. The calculation of cost in the budget category staff differs from the other categories here. You state full or part-time percentage and the number of months working for the EUKI project for each employee. Project personnel should be calculated at an average of at least 10% in relation to full-time employees over the entire project period. And please don't refer to any names here as well. Please calculate with gross salaries, including employer's contribution and other regular salary components defined contractually. But please note that GESE do not finance any bonuses. Staff in the only budget category in which individual costs can also be partially financed by GESE and own sources. Here you can see some examples from the staff budget category, the description, and the comments section. In case you want to budget 2 positions within the same job description, please enumerate the positions accordingly. In the comments section for the category staff, you state main task of the employees working for the project. Under transportation travel costs, you can budget travel expenditures and transportation costs of own staff and externals who participate in projects events, including transport, accommodation, and per diems. Please also plan costs for travel expenditure to the EUKI conference and additional networking conferences, with 2 trips per year for the implementer and 1 trip per year per each implementing partner. Don't state the name of potential destination in the description. This also gives you more flexibility later. The flights budgeted under transportation travel cost budget category can be compensated, and to do so, please budget them in the budget category CO2 compensation for flights. Please note that you will need to provide proof of the compensation, for example, vouchers from the compensation provider containing information about the flight route, date, booking class, and the calculated amount of CO2 emissions. Oh, I'm sorry. Once more, budget category here. Under procurement of materials and equipment, you should budget all expenditure for materials, equipment, or other purchases. Please note Article 6 of Grant Agreement for German and non-German recipients regarding requirements for award procedure, and keep in mind that inventory list for all items exceeding €800 is obligatory. Under other cost consumables, please budget other costs for the project that do not fall into any of other mentioned categories or consumables which are non-durable products. In terms, third-party beneficiaries refers to individuals, entities that benefit from the recipient's project. So, for example, scholarship recipients or beneficiary of cash for work measures or recipients of an implementing competition. The provision of evidence must be agreed upon and stated in the budget, and the selection criteria must be explained in the project proposal. Planned cost in this category must be discussed very carefully with your financial advisor at EUKI. Large and international organization can budget fair shared cost of the organization operates with an allocation of overhead cost in the accounting system and can provide corresponding evidence with the project application phase. And please provide that these costs are not assigned to administrative costs. If this applies to your organization, please contact your financial advisor at EUKI. We would like to continue with the commercial and legal information which are required from the applicant organization. GESET has defined certain criteria to check whether an applicant organization is commercially, administratively, or legally qualified to take over responsibility for implementing project. These eligibility criteria are legal personality, public benefit status, accounting, contract and award procedure, internal and external controls, previous experience, compliance with the law, and anti-corruption. Your commercial and legal information you have to enter on the application platform. Please plan enough time for this, and you can do it within one day or at one time, or save the information and proceed within some days. Now I would like to take a closer look on each of the criteria. First of all, your organization must be a legal personality. Please provide proof of that by submitting excerpts from the commercial register, statuses, or articles of association. Secondly, your organization must be a non-profit entity. German organizations should provide a certificate of tax exemption. Non-German organizations should provide corresponding statuses, articles of association, or register entities. The next point refers to the accounting system you have in place. Please fill in the information about your accounting procedures at the EUKI platform, Annex J for your staff, and time record system, if no system is in place yet. Additionally, please provide the financial revenue of the last 3 years by submitting audited annual financial statements. Another very important aspect are contract award procedures, since the minimum requirements of GESET are very strict and must be applied. In order to prove the award procedure of your organization, you must submit internal guidelines and sample documentation of an award procedure. This is absolutely necessary when you have planned external services or purchase of equipment or materials above €1,000. Furthermore, information regarding internal and external control mechanism of your organization are required. Internal control is a description how your organization implements internal control measures, principle of transparency, cross-check principle, principle of separation of functions, and minimum information principle. External control is a control by external auditing bodies, and please provide us with the report or reports if you have any. Moreover, we would like to receive information on current and previous contracts with GIZ and with other donors or programs. Annex M refers to compliance with the law and anti-corruption. Therefore, it's required to submit this self-declaration in order to meet the key component of GIZ's compliance management system. So, all this information should be provided by filling the commercial and legal information fields on the EUKI application platform, as well as submitting annexes GM. It's highly recommended to watch our video tutorials to this topic. Regarding the language in which the documents have to be provided, I would like to emphasize that only accept English or German. So please translate at least the key information of the document. We also recommend to provide official translations. Please upload all the required documents on the platform. On the EUKI application platform, please fill the information in the respective fields of legal and commercial information, as well as submitting annexes. Please refer to the annex checklist in the project proposal to see which annexes are provided as a template. The document's names should correspond to the specific names from the annex list. We advise you to allow sufficient time for the preparation of the required commercial and legal information and documents which must be correct, consistent, and complete. The application platform is online since 2 weeks, and the link to access has been sent to you with the invitation letter. Please be aware that the deadline for the application via the platform is individual for each project proposal. Make sure that you uploaded all necessary documents in the right category and name the documents appropriately before submitting your proposal. This helps us during the check of the documents. Here is an example of how to name the document correctly before uploading the application platform. Please make sure that the name corresponds to the specific names from the annex list. For example, Annex G. We should be able to identify it easily as a required particular annex. Also, the name should indicate which organization the document is for. As mentioned in Article 5.3 of the potential grant agreement, it's required to perform a due diligence check of the implementing partners. On this slide, we listed possible criteria to perform that check. These are, for example, available capacity for the project implementation, experience gained so far in the implementation of the third-party funding projects, employees' professional skills and qualifications, integrity of the organization, headquarters and region of operation in Europe, previous cooperation with the organization. We are aware that the choosing of the implementing partners has already happened during the first stage of the call for project ideas. However, since this is part of the grant agreement, it's necessary to document this process for the case that the project will be audited later. Since we have no direct contractual relationship with your partners, this can be also seen as a safety measure for you to make sure that your partners have capacities to implement their part of the project. At this slide, you see the excerpt from Grant Agreement, Article 5.3. So prior to forwarding funds for the first time, the recipient must conduct an appropriate due diligence assessment of third-party recipient. Positive assessment of the integrity and eligibility of the respective third-party recipient, taking into consideration the public benefit purpose of the project, is prerequisite for forwarding funds. The recipient must document the assessment and make this documentation available to GIZ upon request. On this slide, we collect do's and don'ts with the application phase to give you an idea on the aspects that we already mentioned, but which are especially important. Let's start with what you should do. Applicants and implementing partners meet the eligibility criteria. Subcontracting will not be a major part of planned budget. Compliance with all GIZ requirements. Prepared project budget in line with the guidelines on legal, commercial, and budgetary procedures. Submitting of all necessary documents via the application platform. Examples for what you should not do are absence of important information and documents, missing translations, non-compliance with GIZ requirements for budget preparation, non-compliance with the conditions defined in your invitation letter, overall budget, project duration. Now we continue with the financial project implementation at GIZ. We believe that there is certain information and specific rules for the implementation that are already good to know and might have implication for the planning of the project now. We will focus here on information which is important early on the project period. During the implementation of your project, you will mainly communicate with us, the EUKI Secretariat. Each project will have a specific contact person for all questions regarding financial matters. Additionally, you may have contact with the finance department of GIZ regarding specific issues related to disbursement or financial reports. At the start of your project, you contact our contract department will send you the contract, since the contract is directly between the GIZ and your organization. Nevertheless, we are the main contact for all your questions. As just mentioned, GIZ has a direct contractual relationship with you as an implementer or recipient. You are then obliged to conclude consortium agreement with your implementing partners, also called third-party recipients. This consortium agreement should ensure that the implementing partners follow the same rules as stipulated in your agreement. We don't have a direct contractual relationship with your implementing partners. Therefore, you're responsible for their actions in the context of the project. Please note that GIZ do not offer any draft for the consortium agreements. Once you have received a contract from GIZ, you will have to submit a request for disbursement on a regular basis. This means every 3 months. Precondition for the first payment, the period 4, is the submission of the first financial report from the period 1 and 2. Financial report covering the first 6 months of your project should be submitted until 2 months after the reporting period ended, so until the end of month 8. After that, it continues in the same rhythm. In regard to the deadlines, please bear in mind to plan adequate time for checking and providing of the reports of the partners. Documents shall be submitted digitally and without signature. As mentioned before, only actual costs incurred during the project period and related activities carried out during this period may be financed. This means that any cost for the preparation of project outlines and full project proposals are not eligible for financing. A quite useful rule for you is a so-called 20% rule. It entitles you to spend up to 20% more in one budget line as long as the actual costs are reduced by the same amount in other budget lines. This can be quite useful in case that you have, for example, to cancel an event but on the other hand, realize that you need to increase the working time of a staff member. We will provide you with further guidelines and assistance for the implementation once the application phase will be finalized and your project will be financed by GESIT. For the implementation of your project, we have also prepared several video tutorials on our EUKI learning platform that will help you with financial implementation of your project. Additionally, we hold 3-4 times a year a consulting hour where we give you a quick input and afterward you can ask any question in regard to the financial implementation. We will also send you this presentation, including the links to the videos after the meeting.